Set stage. Begin play.
When something momentous happens, you're not always aware how momentous it is in the moment that it happens. You know it's important and you know it's going to have an impact.
Have an impact.
But you don't think about it that way. It happens, and if you live through it, you just go on living. And the experience becomes a part
A part of who you are, of who you'll be.
It's all that you know.
It's all you need to know. Except for when it's not.
Exactly.
Yes.
And no.
But knowing and doing
Doing and knowing.
are two different things. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
And I had a moment of clarity. While watching a show on TLC, I had a moment of clarity. I just knew that I'd be a very bad conjoined twin. I guess on some levels I always knew that. But when I saw the girls all conjoined like they were, it became absolutely crystal clear. One of them had their head tilted at a 45-degree angle, always tilted off to the side, while her sister's head was straight up, like a regular person's head. And I just knew that I'd be a very bad conjoined twin, because I'd be the one with the tilted head. And I wouldn't be happy about it. I'd use my left hand, the one I have control of, because I'd be on the left side. I just know that I'd be on the left side. And I'd slap the other twin repeatedly. And I'd do it hard, like more of a punch than a slap. Whatever it took to make it so she was the one with the tilted head, and mine was straight up, like a regular person's head. Weakness gives way to strength. It's how it is. It's how it's always been. How it should be.
Having other people tell you what to do doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't make the decision any easier, especially if what they're telling you seems like the worst possible thing that could happen. The worst possible thing that you could do.
You don't get a vote. You don't get a vote. You don't get a vote.
And there are reasons why there aren't any rap videos where the guy only has one girl. He has multiple girls. A lot of girls. Because that's how he rolls. He rolls with a lot of girls. And not rolls like a ball rolls. Rolls in like how he lives his life. He lives his life with a lot of girls. And you don't hear any of the girls complaining. No. You don't hear any of the girls in rap videos walking off saying, "I'm not down with this, yo." No, nuh-uh. They accept what's meant to be. So, if there's a guy with a lot of girls, then that's how it's supposed to be. Things that happen are supposed to happen, and you can't argue with how things are supposed to be.
How things are supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, I wasn't even supposed to be there that day. My being there when it happened was an accident.
An accident.
The accident was my fault. It's always my fault when bad things happen. Bad luck. I try to stay out of the way. I try to stay hidden so nobody notices I'm there, so I don't jinx whatever's going on. So bad things don't happen. But they do. Bad things happen. Bad things happen even when I'm the closest to being invisible. I close my eyes and I try to be invisible. I try. But when I open my eyes, I see myself in a mirror, standing right behind her. And in her eyes, I see myself in her eyes. You're not invisible if you can see yourself in somebody's eyes.
I see my face. When I look in the mirror, I see my face. But somebody else's eyes are looking back at me. Somebody else's eyes from inside of my head. And I don't know what to do.
when somebody tells you to do something, you do it! You don't ask questions. You don't discuss it like your opinion matters. You do it! When I tell you to do something, you do it! Good. Now we understand each other. We know who's in charge and who's calling the shots. And we know who's pathetic. You're weak. You're an embarrassment. You're like a marshmallow that gets dropped into the bottom of a campfire. Nobody wants it anymore. It's gonna melt, burn, and disappear. And nobody cares!
And the walls and ceiling are going to be painted with zebra stripes. Except they won't be black and white like a zebra. They'll be periwinkle and white. Periwinkle is a kind of blue, and it's also the name of a doll I had when I was 7. Before I even knew periwinkle was a color. I got the doll for my birthday, and it already had a name, but I changed it. If you get a doll for a present, or adopt a baby, you can rename it whatever you like, if you don't like the name it comes with. That's how it works. So I changed Betsy's name to Periwinkle. I also refused to feed her. She came with a bottle that you're supposed to fill with milk or water, and then after she drinks it, she goes to the bathroom. That would have been fine if her name was Betsy, but Periwinkle wasn't the kind of baby who'd be happy leaking all over the place. So no bottle for her, no liquids of any kind. She died about 6 months after I got her. It was a boating accident. She got thrown overboard into a lake.
Accidents happen when you're not expecting an accident to happen.
That's how it works. There won't be any accidents with the periwinkle and white zebra stripes on my walls and ceiling. Everything's going to be perfect. And after all the stripes are painted, I'm going to put up my poster. My giant, almost as big as the whole wall poster of a pale pink unicorn. The horn is made of tape that looks like a 3D rainbow when light hits it. It's amazing. It's breathtaking. When you walk into my room, you're going to be like, and all you'll be able to say is, wow. And then maybe, after you catch your breath, you'll say, my life sucks compared to yours. Because as you stand in the doorway to my room, you'll realize that you don't have periwinkle and white striped walls and a giant poster of a pale pink unicorn with the 3D rainbow horn, and I do.
And I will always protect you.
And I will always do what I want. I'll always take what I want. Ab intra, ab origine, alea iacta est. Ab intra, ab origine, alea iacta est.
From within, from the source, past the point of no return.
Actus mei in vito factus non est meus actus. Actus mei in vito factus non est meus actus.
The act done by me against my will is not my act. The act done by me against my...
I didn't have a choice!
Et ex uno plures.
Ex uno plures.
Ex uno plures. From one, many.
And it made me not want to leave my room. I mean, seriously, and for totally real. Having a giant poster of a pale pink unicorn with a 3D rainbow horn is the kind of thing that makes a girl not want to leave her room. If the people who are in charge of prisons were looking for a way to keep people in solitary confinement, without them getting upset that they're being solitarily confined, they should put up giant posters of unicorns with 3D rainbow horns on the walls in the rooms that they keep the prisoners in. Seriously, and for totally real.
And I had a moment of clarity.
bad lifeguard. I wouldn't want to get in the lifeguard chair in the first place because it's too high. No chair should be perched on top of what essentially is a ladder. But if I did climb the ladder and sit in a chair, I wouldn't want to get down just because some little girl was swimming in the deep end and got scared and started hyperventilating and going under the water and gagging and choking on the water when she wasn't underwater. Where are her parents? Why didn't they teach her that little girls who can't swim very well have no place in the deep end? You really shouldn't be in a pool at all until you know how to swim well enough to save yourself. You can't count on the lifeguard to save you. At most, the lifeguard will blow a whistle and yell, "Stop horsing around in the pool!" But that's it. That's all the intervention you can count on. And you wouldn't hear the whistle anyways because your head and your ears, because they're attached to your head, would be underwater. So you better learn how to swim. Which is good advice I should have taken myself because then I could swim. And I think you have to know how to swim before you can get the lifeguard job. I'm assuming there's some kind of test involved, like the boss of the pool stows a kid in the deep end and potential lifeguards have to jump in and save it. It being the kid, although they probably use mannequins or dummies instead of throwing real kids in the pool. Otherwise, the bottom of the pool would be filled with kids that want to be lifeguards and didn't get to in time or know how to save. And that would be depressing for the people in the pool and for the lifeguard who actually got the job and had to look at the deep end full of bodies, which would look even more disturbing for the ladder perched lifeguard chair. So no, I wouldn't be a very good lifeguard. I wouldn't even be a mediocre lifeguard. I would not be a good guardian of life in any situation, and I willingly admit that.
And you don't hear any of the ladies complaining. Complaining? That's a sign of weakness.
And I'll protect you. Always. I will always protect you. I can't think of anything that would be more important to me than protecting you. Looking after you. Making sure you're okay and safe. Always. I found a fortune in a fortune cookie at a Chinese restaurant, which is pretty much the only place you can get a fortune. And it said, "You are the guardian of everything, good and true." I put it in my pocket. The fortune, not the cookie. And I didn't think about it until about 5 hours later, when I reached my hand into my pocket and I found the fortune. To be honest, when I said I got a fortune in a fortune cookie at a Chinese restaurant, I'm only guessing that that's what happened. I don't remember going to a Chinese restaurant, so I can't remember getting a cookie or finding the fortune inside. But there it was, in my pocket. So I put the pieces of the puzzle together. I have to do that. I have to do that a lot. Put pieces of the puzzle together to figure out when things happened, or how they happened, or if they really happened to me, or if I'm just getting the leftovers of somebody else's life. So I have to make it feel like it's mine. Like the pieces are mine. Finding a cash register receipt in my pocket can answer a lot of questions. It triggers some new ones as well, but I prefer to focus on the questions it's answering, as opposed to the questions I didn't know I should be asking. Finding that fortune gave me a purpose more so than provided information. You are the guardian of everything good and true. I mean, that's a major, serious, momentous piece of purpose. I am the guardian of everything good and true. Well, everything is pretty overwhelming. Try not to focus on that. So in my mind, while it is my mind, I'm the guardian of good and true. Just guardian of good and true.
You take the good with the bad. It's not like you get a choice. You take what comes your way and you work with it. You do your best with it. And I do. Between the blanks, the missing pages, the sections that were cut out or were never there, I try to fill in those blanks, those holes in my memory. It's like I'm asleep, but I'm not really asleep, and I wake up in the strangest places. I find myself in a parking lot, and I don't remember driving there. And I look in the mirror, and I see myself in clothes that I had never bought. And I see other people's eyes inside of my head looking back at me in the mirror. It wasn't always this way. I used to only see my own eyes looking back at me. And I didn't have any of these holes in my memory. But always isn't ever always. Forever can end in a heartbeat. Sometimes my head feels heavy. Like I have a cold and I've taken a double dose of NyQuil. Like my head is filled with soggy cotton balls and thick gray fog that's really hard to move through. And then what I see starts to change. It's like I'm in the house, my house, and then in the blink of an eye, it's like I'm in a driveway. Backing out, and I can see myself from a window. I see myself looking at me. I see myself looking at me.
And the
The
car
house
gets
is
farther
farther
away.
away.
Like
The
the driveway's a mile long and
I'm
she's at the end of it.
And I
You
can't see myself in the window. I
She
disappear.
disappears. Bye-bye. I wait till it's quiet. Till I'm sure she's gone and nobody else is going to take over. I kind of tiptoe forward to take my turn. I don't want to disturb anybody. Some of the others scare me. I don't think that's a bad thing. Fear is something I'm aware of. Everyone should be. It's like a fire alarm for your mind and body, and so you know when something's wrong, or might be wrong. So you can do something to stay safe, to protect yourself. But just when I'm feeling okay, like everything is going to be quiet and safe and happy, somebody takes me somewhere. Somebody outside, not somebody inside, and I go along, because maybe I don't have a choice. Or maybe I'm afraid to say no or to disagree. You can't be invisible when people are mad at you. You can't be invisible when you most need to be invisible. That's the downside of invisibility. And so I go, wherever they take me. But I pretend I'm not there, hoping that if they look in my eyes, they see her and not me.
And a
A
lot
lot
of
of people are fooled by that.
It's true. A lot of people don't pay attention to whose eyes they see looking back at them.
And I count on that. I count on people not paying attention. I count on their fear, their stupidity, and their weaknesses. And I take advantage of that.
Weakness gives way to strength.
The others give way to me. They can't help it. It's the way it has to be. It's the way it's supposed to be. Somebody has to walk out into the street in front of oncoming traffic and dare the drivers to touch me. I dare them to hit me, even. Because if they dare, I'll grab a baseball bat and smash their windshield, and their headlights, and their heads. Have you ever smashed a watermelon with a hammer? It's like that, except with screaming. Screaming is weakness giving way to strength.
And I had a moment of
And
clarity.
sometimes I wear an eye patch to tell people that
I
my
would be a
makeup felt
very
like
bad
unicorn.
And I'm sure it won't surprise you to know that some of the ladies
And you
call me
don't
Dr.
get a
Love.
vote.
For death the whole
Unicorns are
time you're on
dangerous if
duty.
they're magical.
Like a gunshot.
Nobody
to
asks
the
you your
head.
opinion before they shoot you in the head.
Paging Dr.
I would
Love,
be a
code
very
red
bad
stat.
patient if you
Pirates
are.
don't
You
ask
can't be a
permission
good
before they
patient if you're
plunder.
impatient. I get mad at myself and everyone else because I let myself be manipulated.
You have to let the people waiting.
A lot of people are fooled by that.
I find little scraps of paper with messages on them. I find them all over the house. I'm not the one writing them, but I am definitely the one who's fighting them. So far, there are 26. 26. 2, 6. I keep them in a safe place. And when my eyes are the one looking back at me in the mirror, I take all the scraps and I put them on the kitchen table. And I try to put them together. Like a puzzle. But the pieces don't fit together. I need more messages. I need more pieces. I need more scraps. I need a message about the messages.
My dad got the message, loud and clear. My mom was making me stay home from school with me. I had to stay home because I had fever and a sore throat. She had an important meeting with a client and she couldn't reschedule it. Well, I guess she could have, but she didn't. So she told my dad that he needed to step up and pull his weight. My dad said, okay. He told my mom,
I've got this. I've got everything under control.
So my mom went to her meeting and my dad made me breakfast.
Pancakes
with
strawberry syrup.
And after I was done eating, my dad said, get dressed and take you to work with me. And I told him that's not what mom said you were supposed to do. And he rolled his eyes, like he was the 13-year-old girl instead of me. So I got dressed and I went to my dad's work with him. 13 years ago today. 13 and 13 is 26. 26. 2, 6. When we got to his office, my dad said, lay on the couch. He had a couch
in his office.
It won't be any different than if you were laying on the couch at home watching TV, except for you won't be watching TV. So take a nap or read a book, or think about feeling better.
Better.
So I did. I laid on the couch and I thought about feeling better. He had his secretary make tea for me. Chamomile. It was good, and it was so quiet in my dad's office. He's a lawyer.
A divorce lawyer, mostly.
His office had enough books to be a library. It was quiet like a library, too.
I want to stay quiet. I don't want her to go back there. I don't want her to remember.
And I willingly admit that.
And you're scared because your actions are supposed to speak louder than your words, but you know the words are going to be screamed at you because you've had the nightmares.
Her nightmares lead into mine. Into yours.
And I'm scared.
I'm scared.
And I'll protect you. Always, I will always protect you.
Look after you. Make sure you're okay. And safe. Always.
And
Somebody else's eyes start looking out from inside your head. And if you can never
I must have fallen asleep, taken a nap, drifted off. And I woke up. There were 3 guys in my dad's office. 3 guys plus my dad. And I thought I must have been dreaming, because why would there be 3 guys in my dad's office while I was asleep on the couch? One of them was wearing camouflage pants. Camouflage is very different from chamomile. Then I noticed that my dad was tied to his chair and he had a big piece of gray tape over his mouth. The fact that I noticed the guy in camouflage pants before seeing my dad was tied to his chair kind of disproves the idea that camouflage is supposed to help you blend in. But maybe that's because we were in an office and not out in the jungle. I reached for my tea. I took a sip. It was cold, like ice cold. And I said,
The tea is cold.
And the short guy, the one standing next to the guy in the camouflage pants, slapped me hard and I gasped. And the guy in the camouflage pants said,
Shut up!
I ran toward the door, but the short guy grabbed me and held my arms behind my back. I kicked him and yelled, Let me go! And he said,
You don't get a vote!
I wanted to know why nobody was helping me. If somebody screams, you should probably check and see what's going on, because people don't usually scream for no reason. My dad's secretary had made tea for me, but she wasn't being much help now. And I thought, when my dad gets untied and gets this tape off of his mouth, he should have a serious conversation with his secretary about her job performance. The guy in the camouflage pants must have read my mind, because he said,
Everyone is gone for the day. It's just the 5 of us, like 5 fingers on a hand.
And he held up his hands, and both of his little fingers were missing. He just had a thumb and 3 fingers on each hand. 1, 3. 2 thumbs and 6 fingers.
2, 6, 8.
The third guy, the one who hadn't said anything yet, started talking to my dad, like the 2 of them were having a nice, friendly conversation. He said,
You shouldn't have let it happen, Jerry. You should have done something.
My dad was his divorce lawyer, that much I was pretty sure of. He lost custody of his kids and had to pay his ex-wife a lot of money, and he was not happy about it. He was so not happy that his face was as red as the tie that he was wearing, and that was bright red. He told the short guy to take the tape off of my dad's mouth. My dad said, I wasn't the only one.
You had a legal team. I wasn't even the lead attorney on your case.
And the guy laughed, more of a giggle than a laugh, and he said, it's kind of like the phrase on the back of the coins.
E pluribus unum. From many, one. We put all your names into a hat, and yours is the one we picked. E pluribus unum. From many, one. And you're the one.
And the guy in the red tie smiled at me. His eyes looked like the lights were out in his brain. They were so dark and cold that they made me shiver. He told my dad to stand up, but my dad said, Let's talk about this, like rational people. He got really close to my dad's face and yelled, I told you to stand up.
And when somebody tells you to do something, you do it. You don't ask questions. You don't discuss it like your opinion matters. You do it. Good. Now we understand each other. We know who's in charge, who's calling the shots.
The guy in camouflage pants put a gun in my right hand. And for a second, it was more unnerving to be touching the hand of someone missing his little finger than it was to be holding a gun. He lifted my hand up, extending my arm so that the gun was pointing at my dad's head. And the guy in the red tie held a gun against my dad's heart. And he looked at me with his nobody home eyes and said,
You're going to shoot your dad.
And if you don't, I'm going to shoot him. If you shoot him, we'll let you go. We won't hurt you. My dad had tears running down his face and he said,
Do what he says, sweetie. It's the only way I can protect you. To make sure you're safe.
And when somebody tells you to do something, you do it! You do it!
You do it. It was quiet. It was so quiet. And even though I hadn't moved, I was still in my dad's office and he was laying on the floor. It was like I was back at home, inside my house, and then in the blink of an eye, it's like I was in a car backing out of the driveway. But I could see myself looking at me. I could see myself from a window, my bedroom window, and I could see the periwinkle and white striped walls. I could see myself looking back at myself. And the house gets farther away, like the driveway is a mile long, and I'm at the end of it.
And I can't see her from the window. Actus me in vito factus non est meus actus. The act done by me against my will is not my act.
I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Ex uno plures. Ex uno plures. Ex uno plures.
From one,
Many.
Play ends.